Hello, I'm Joanna Rochester, and this is Real Talk Wellness Renegades on Speak Up and Empower. And today I'm here with my guest, my daughter, Catriona McConnell, and we are going to talk about SAD, or Seasonal Affective Disorder, today. This podcast is a part of Speak Up and Empower's online community of people that are heart-centered, focus on sharing their information, their wisdom, their story with those that are interested in bringing more into their lives. Wellness renegades use natural therapies to heal themselves. When you come to understand yourself better, can recognize your physical symptoms, get in touch with your thoughts and your emotions, then you can understand yourself enough to be able to utilize natural therapies to heal yourself when you do have issues. And so on Real Talk Wellness Renegades, we talk about those natural therapies. We talk about ways to get more in touch with yourself so that you can come to a place of healing, because we are all designed to heal ourselves. We've just forgotten how. And so if you can get back in touch with yourself, then you can use natural therapies. And it's never just about natural therapies. It is about integrative medicine, but ideally you use natural therapies first. And this is so.
You're back.
Okay, we're back again. So yes, Catriona McConnell is my daughter, but she experiences SAD every year. So I wanted to bring her in so that she can share what she experiences. So welcome today, Catriona.
Thank you, Joanna.
And so tell me a little bit about yourself, Catriona.
Well, I am 29 years old, and I went back to school last year after getting my undergraduate a couple years back, just to kind of right after high school. And I'm currently at a program learning winemaking.
Wonderful. And so you experience SAD. So what does it feel like to you when you get into that mode, that process?
Well, it can show up in different ways for different people. So this is like my experience with it. Mm-hmm. And it can be more traditional, like sad, depressed, like really kind of down. For me, it's just more kind of apathetic. I don't really, I just realized how weird it looks with the glasses. The light ring, of course, sorry. It's just more like apathetic, where as much as like I know I should be doing things, I don't have a desire to do things. And it's just like you're just down, and like sometimes the sunshine helps when it does come out. It makes you feel a little bit better, perks up. But of course, because you're not getting like the vitamin D from the sun, it does make a huge difference, and you just feel down the entire winter pretty much.
And so this may seem strange, but part of what I teach all my clients and what I talk about is coming to understand your body and understanding what it feels like. And as you mentioned, like it feels different to every single person, right? Mm-hmm. So what does down feel like to you?
Well, it's not the same energy that you usually have. Like if someone invites you to go out someplace, not now during COVID, but on different times, you would be, yeah, for sure, let's go. It sounds great. I'm so excited to do that. And if it's something that would normally get you excited to go, but right now it's just exhausting, the thought of getting up to go out and go and do things. And even it just makes everything seems like that much harder. Like there's kind of like a blanket on top of you. So every motion is that much more difficult to do.
And are you aware that you're going through it?
For the first couple of years, I knew something was down, but I didn't know why. And now I can pretty quickly pick up the symptoms, just because it does kind of present itself in similar ways every time it kind of hits. But I would say, like, yeah, you're aware. However, part of it is, of course, that you don't feel like you have the energy or the desire to take the steps to fix it, which is, of course, why other like SAD or even depression, like that, can be so insidious and so hard to work on, because you just don't have the energy to fix it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it, right? It's like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's not like, oh well, tomorrow I'll feel better, right? I think, anyways, like I do feel sad a bit, but mine more manifests in a sadness. I think more than anything else, it's not so much the physical for me, but it is that I do feel that sadness. So maybe there is a physicalness. Maybe it's just
absolutely affects you that mentally, emotionally, physically that you've talked about, I'm
Mhm.
sure it absolutely presents itself physically. It's
Yeah.
not just in your head, it's in your body, it's everything.
Yeah. Like for me, it's a bit of a heaviness, I think, is for want of other words. Because as I said, it's not strong with me. I'm sure there have been years that it is, but of course, for the most part, I'm pretty aware of it and teach my clients about it. So it is, but this is one of the big things, is an understanding of yourself so that you recognize the symptoms that you have and know, oh, I'm going through this, right? And I think, even with you, like, the first few years that it really came on strong, you were away at school in Ottawa. So it was hard to, it's not like I saw her every day, but she also didn't, that was maybe another thing too, that you didn't share, that it was that, I don't want to say bad, but it did bring you that low.
Well, yeah, there's also a lot of like different factors going on in my life. I think there was probably a natural, so there was some depression in other ways that I've had for years, but of course that's just made it that much worse. And Ottawa is so cold. Like it really is.
Yeah.
I love living in that city, but God, it was so cold.
Windy and cold.
Yeah, they talk about it, but it's right off the river. Yeah, love it.
Again. We come back. There we are. So it's always going to be different for everyone, and it's going to be the depth of it. But I think that's one thing. When you're that observer in your life, you can notice and come to realize what's going on. So you may notice it, but if you the more you are in touch with yourself, the more you can go, oh, I'm experiencing sad right now, and this is how it affects me. And then once you're aware of it, then you can actually do something about it. So as we mentioned, some of the symptoms of SAD are a mild depression or sadness or heaviness, that lack of energy, a lack of desire to do anything, a lack of desire to want to even come, or I don't know if it's a lack of desire or just that it doesn't feel like anything's possible.
Yeah, like of course you want to get better, but at the same time you don't see a way that that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just you don't see how it's possible, or why would you even bother, because it won't happen.
I think that's a big thing, why would you, right? So all these symptoms, so in your body, so lack of energy, could be some brain fog that you're experiencing, or a dullness maybe is a good way of describing it too. Appetite probably slows down. The whole body slows down. Your whole metabolism slows down. And so you could be putting on weight and so many different factors. So once you come to realize that you are experiencing SAD, seasonal affective disorder, then what did you do?
Well, I called my mother.
But I think some of the great things, so homeopathy, I'm a homeopath. Homeopathy is a great way to deal with it. A lot of SAD is, as your body slows down, there can be an imbalance of hormones within your body, and that can bring you lower. And so homeopathy is great to balance hormones and bring balance back to the system in general. And so that can really help. Vitamin D is a huge component. There's different vitamin Ds. I prefer the vitamin D3, which is non-vegan, but I don't eat meat either, but I think
you wouldn't be vegan though. So you don't eat, you're vegetarian, you're not vegan.
Yes, yeah. Yes. And so, if you're that, I just don't think the vitamin D2 is as effective within the body as the vitamin D3. And so with the D3, for those, if you haven't been taking vitamin D, then you should be taking at least 7,000 international units of vitamin D, especially at this time of year, almost anyone anyways at this time of year. And I prefer, I should have brought it in, but there is the liquid one. They're just small bottles with a dropper on top, and one drop is 1,000 international units. So I take about
very reasonably priced too.
Yeah,
not an expensive product at all.
No, like, but it might be $15, but that'll last you like 6 months.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So now there are different ones. Check them out, because if it's lower grade olive oil, like, you don't want the really inexpensive ones, because I've had the less expensive ones. I bought them because there was a great sale, and they go bad pretty quickly. Like, they didn't last the full 6 months, because the quality of the oil that's used within it, it'll actually go bad faster. So buy, a slightly better quality one. But as you said, it's like $15-17, pretty inexpensive to last that long. 7,000 drops or 7,000 international units at this time of year. In the summer, come April, May, you can drop it down to 3,000 to 5,000, depending upon how long
you
you're
need vitamin
taking.
D in the sun in the summer?
Good question, Catriona. We can't possibly get enough vitamin D in our bodies we live in North America, in Canada, and even though we're at the lowest point, which is equivalent to pretty warm climate compared to a lot of places in the world. Unless you're outside every day for 15 minutes to half an hour without sunscreen and with your arms and legs exposed, you're not going to get enough vitamin D. You can't get enough from your food, even if food, if it's added to food. And
Sunny D won't give you enough. I'm shocked by this.
Yeah. Well, and also a lot of people take like a multivitamin, and oftentimes in multivitamins, you're only getting about 500 international units. So it's not enough. You have to take more. So once again, this time of year, between 5,000 to 7,000. But if you haven't been taking vitamin D, at least 7,000 up to 10,000. I know some practitioners that will recommend, like, if they're on a vitamin D, like if they've been severely limited in their body, up to 20,000 international units, and depending upon what else is going on. That's way too much, I think, for the average person. If you're working with someone, a practitioner, it may be what works for you, but around 7,000 international units, and come summer, you can drop it down to 3 to 5. But that will make a significant difference. And I notice it myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that as soon as I start taking it, that I will notice my mood change and improve very quickly, especially if you are really deficient in it in your body. So vitamin D, what else? Homeopathic remedies. What else have you done?
I just mostly stuck to the vitamin D. I know friends who bought special lamps who really struggled with it, that gave them off the UV rays, but that was a more expensive option. A few other things, again, just like getting up and moving around and not listening to that blanket. Just going for a long walk when you're feeling down. But truthfully, it was mostly just the vitamin D and taking that and the multivitamins on a consistent basis. And we all know what not to eat. We do.
Well, the majority of us do.
Yes, the majority of us do. Well, at the very least, like, people know that McDonald's every single day is bad for them. They do it for many reasons, some economic, some societal, so many different things, but it doesn't long term. Sorry, we're getting off topic, but yeah, vitamin D was the biggest thing that truly did help, and eating like a somewhat decent diet and just making sure that you don't have to be super healthy, but at the same time, being aware of what you're eating and doing.
Yeah, because I would say, like, even though I'm a homeopath and nutritionist, I'm certainly not
we had buffalo cauliflower for dinner the other night, and that was excellent.
Buffalo cauliflower is good for you. Well, actually, that one wasn't a keto one. That was from a store. That was
we ordered in dinner on Valentine's Day.
Yes. When I make it, I do usually make it with almond flour, so then it is pretty healthy, especially if you're following a keto diet. But I'm going to admit to this. I had Kraft dinner the other day. I know. Kraft dinner is comfort food from being from a kid, and when I was raising these guys, and I didn't know any better. Yes. So we can't all be perfect, but we can try hard. And so, as Catriona was saying, the lights, the UV lamps are available. And for those that have severe SAD, then it may be an option for you. And it feels good, right, to have that light on you in the middle of winter. We have been lucky that it has been pretty sunny lately, although today it snowed quite a bit last night. So that light does make a big difference. So you can try that. But as Catriona said, my smart daughter, getting out and, movement. That'll get your blood flowing. It'll get your lymph system working better, get things moving so that it's working better and more balanced. And it doesn't have to be big heights in the country, just getting out and going for a walk, right? If you've got a dog, get the dog out there more often. But just start with something.
Just walking to get in a coffee, walking to the Tim Hortons or to the park or wherever that spot that you like in the city, even if it's just a weird graffitied wall. Just go to something that makes you happy.
That was kind of random.
Well, the town I live in is very industrial in areas. Yes.
So was there a graffiti wall that you go to?
No, there's graffiti kind of in random places. They have a couple cool where that's designated by the city where you can go and graffiti that wall just for practice. And so there's some cool spots like that.
Okay. This seemed kind of random.
Well, you know where I live.
Yeah.
Not the best city.
She lives in Niagara on the Lake.
No, I don't.
St. Catharines.
Yeah.
So outside of Niagara on the Lake. Not everyone knows where St. Catharines is.
Yeah.
So anyways, just, get that opportunity to get out and take a chance and get moving. The eating better, more fruits and vegetables as much as possible. We've got more time at this time of year, so a little bit more, start to play, trying more. A lot of times we get stuck in ruts with our diets. I'm a nutritionist also, for those that don't know. We get stuck in our diets and we eat the same things all the time. And
Wednesday night spaghetti night, Tuesday taco, every week is the same.
Yeah. And then I find myself getting in a rut with vegetables too, right? Where I'm not trying different vegetables, right? The salad is the same with the same veggies on that, or the same. As much as I'm a vegetarian, I don't tend to cook as much with vegetables as I should. There's spaghetti squash and summer squash and sweet potatoes and stuff like that, and peppers. But the more variety you can put in your diet, the better it is for you on a whole bunch of levels. Our bodies love variety. Our bodies love different things. And so the more you can throw it in, and ideally more raw foods. Majority of us don't have enough fiber in our diets. So, and if you're eating raw, you are going to get some vitamin D from the foods that you eat. But once again, it will never be enough. Tanning beds. That's a whole other question. And obviously we don't use tanning beds. But there will be some that tell you that tanning beds work, but I still believe that your skin is damaged from the tanning beds. And so that's not something that I choose, but it could be something that you choose to do. And you can get with when the bulbs are replaced often enough, like when they're good bulbs in the tanning beds and the good tanning beds, it can provide your body with some extra vitamin D from the rays that come through and allow the conversion within your body. So that is possible, but yes, it's not.
Yeah, the damage to your skin, especially repeated use, we all know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I used to do it before I went on holidays, but not so much anymore. And which could lead us down that road of spray tans, which are filled with chemicals for those that don't know. And remember the first time, intuitively our bodies know what's right for us and what's not. And I remember the first time that I actually bought the spray on tan and went to use it at home, and my whole body went, "Wah, don't do that." So I you got to listen to your body if you get that message. So I've never used the spray on tan. But, it's up to you what you feel is right. But I'm just going to say, please don't. From a holistic wellness point of view, and this is part of it too, right? So often people say, well, my grandfather, my grandmother, or whatever, smoked and drank, and, they lived to be 100 and still, were healthy. Well, there is a question. Genetics is always amazing and plays a huge role. It's true. But I also don't think that in previous generations that they had to deal with all the chemicals in our homes, in the cities, in the places that we work, even though we breathe when we're walking down the street.
Food. Genetically modified food.
Yeah. So the food that we eat, they would eat more fresh, more right from the farm, a lot more healthier food without the chemicals and stress. And I know every generation has their own levels of stress, but I do think there was less stress then that there was now. But those chemicals have a huge impact upon us, and the chemicals affect our DNA, which changes things for us. They may have gotten away with it, but it's not likely that you're going to.
Also, don't forget, well, it might be your grandfather. You also have another person's DNA that are helping you as well. You're not a direct descendant of your grandfather. There's more DNA from your, let's say, your father's father. You also have your mother's genes coming in, and there's so many other factors in regards to that.
Mm-hmm. And so it has a profound impact, right? It's not just, our DNA has been affected and our RNA has been affected by what goes into and onto our bodies, changing things so that we are not as effectively able to heal ourselves as we were in the past. Although, some things have changed and we are living longer, but I don't believe stats that we're living any healthier now than we ever did before, that's for sure. And who wants to live long if you're not healthy? Not me. So back to the SAD. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share about Affective having experience.
I think the biggest thing is just awareness that no, it's not just in your head. It really truly is something going on with you physically, and it's diagnosable. It's also just very aware. You can tell your friends about it. You can tell your family about it, even just in casual conversation. If you don't want to personally share your story, that's okay. You can just literally say, hey, I read this cool thing online. Let me tell you about it, just to help people be aware that it is something that's going on. You're not just down or depressed. There is a true reason, and there's some pretty straightforward solutions. So just tell everyone you know. And there is more awareness, I feel like, than ever was before. Again, a benefit of the internet is there is more articles talking about it and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think that's just the biggest thing.
Excellent point. Geez, you're so smart. Who's your mom? This is a huge thing, right? She's in trouble for that one. This is a huge thing, right? That we share, right? We notice not only for ourselves, but also we share for those around us. So that first few years that I hadn't really noticed, what was going on with Catriona, because she hadn't really noticed, but I became aware of what was going on, and I would start to notice her symptoms and say, be able to say, you're going through this right now, right? A lot faster. And so, if I could say, these are your symptoms that I would noticing, I think that then you could confirm them and we could do something about them.
And also just taking daily, sorry, I didn't mean to know you just listening to me, taking daily the vitamin D all throughout the year was just a huge factor. That since I started, and I'm a human, I sometimes forget or I don't take it for a little bit. But just taking it kind of consistently throughout the year, I don't think it's ever been as bad as it was the first couple of years of just not being aware of it. Yeah, so you're about to say?
No, you just go on. I'm sorry, just kidding.
She's mad now.
No, it is like that awareness and sharing it. So if you're experiencing SAD, share it with other people. But also even if you don't experience it, right? Being able to say to other people, you seem a little bit low. Do you know about SAD? And, and just sharing that information, because so often we do feel that we're the only ones exhibiting certain symptoms and that we're the only one going through it. And if we feel alone, then that's just going to exacerbate your symptoms. So sharing the information with other people so that you can say, you can take vitamin D, or, this will help, or I've heard this, or whatever.
Just take vitamin D as is. Remember, my optometrist was a huge proponent, and every patient who came in, she would hand them a form telling them about how important it was to take it. Especially as a woman, there's a lot of links related to breast cancer, mm-hmm. and the impact that vitamin D can have in helping combat it.
Well, according to
prevent it. Sorry.
Yeah, according to the Vitamin D Association, there's a huge organization in the States that researches vitamin D. And according to them, you can reduce your risk of breast cancer by 75% by having sufficient levels of vitamin D in your body. So that's pretty impactful if you think about that.
Even taken with a grain of salt of who is producing it, that's still very impressive.
Yes, it is the Vitamin D organization, though, that's done all the research.
But there still would have to be evidence for them saying that kind of numbers.
Yeah, like it's a research organization, not just a community or anything like that. So, anyways.
Is it true?
It is true. You always have to take things with a grain of salt. You always have to question things, right? And say, any research that you see, right? It's to find out who did the research, where did the funding come from, who was involved with it, why did they do it, everything like that, in order to get a true story. Because we can always find research to back up whatever we believe.
Yes, and that's not just the scientific community. There's lots of other things that read a secondary source from a differing opinion. Even if it's not necessarily your opinion, they'll typically point out different facts and different information that we should just be aware of. Because everyone has a bias and agenda, and we just have to figure our own.
So if you're experiencing SAD, seasonal affective disorder, symptoms may be heaviness, depression, lack of energy, sadness, metabolism has slowed down, your appetite isn't what it was, you don't have any urge to we encourage you. Homeopathic remedies are a great way to address the symptoms and Okay, sorry we had issues with that, and we're just going to end it. So I hope this helped you out and you found some information that can help you become aware if you're dealing with SAD and how to move through it. So this is Joanna Rochester, Wellness Renegade, part of Speak Up and Empower's online community of people having conversations that change the way you see the world. Check out my website, joannarochester.com, my Facebook page, Wellness Renegades, or Real Talk Wellness Renegades, and we'll see you again next Tuesday at 10:30. And yes, my daughter says goodbye.